Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Home Performance Advocate podcast. We are continuing our series on manufactured housing. This will be episode 4 of the manufactured housing series. If you want to go check those out on our channel, either Spotify or YouTube, you can go ahead and do that. And then if you want to know when new episodes are coming out, you can obviously follow whatever channel of choice you want to follow so that you can know when new ones are coming out, because we'll kind of allude to different episodes in this one and in future ones that we might do in the future. So as always, I have Parker and Chance with me here, and we're going to be going through today's topic in programs and contractors. So we're basically looking at who are we working with as we're in manufactured homes and trying to improve energy efficiency, health and safety, all of the above. So we're going to get a well-rounded view of just who we're working with. And again, we've already talked about communication, but this one will center primarily on even maybe how to get into these programs and work with these contractors and where to find contractors and some success we've had in certain areas there, and also some troubles we've had. So one of the first questions that I have here is, what types of programs have we worked with, and what kinds of programs are common in these manufactured housing areas and doing work in the manufactured homes?
Yeah. Chance, you want to go through what Harris has worked with?
Yeah, absolutely. So the majority of the work that we've done with the manufactured housing population has been through income qualified programs. So essentially, the homeowner, the applicant per se, will submit, tax documents, financial docs that they ask for, basically to confirm that they're below the 80% AMI. That's usually the standard rule for these income qualified programs, at least where we're located in Colorado. Once they're approved, then essentially, they'll get the initial energy assessment for free, and then all the retrofit work that comes after that completely free. So that is the main source of manufactured housing stock that we work with. They're funneled through these income qualified programs. And there's a multitude of those. Some are more energy efficiency focused, some are more focused on indoor air quality. They all kind of have their niche focus. But then I will say we do encounter manufactured housing stock from time to time in some of the market rate programs that we work with. Essentially, they fall within the territory of a program that we're running at that time, and they pay an assessment fee, and one of our guys from Harris will come out and do an energy assessment for them. And then obviously the difference between the income qualified and the market rate space is they would then be paying out of pocket for that retrofit work. But the plus side to the market rate programs is there's usually a rebate pool associated with those retrofits. So while they're still paying out of pocket, we are able to guide them towards a lot of really high value rebates at the moment. So while it won't be completely no cost, we can sometimes get upwards of 30, 40, 50% of the project cost covered through that rebate pool. So those are the two main facets that we work with through the manufactured housing stock. And if
I'll jump in real quick to add another one that we've come across a few different times, and that's a healthy homes program. Mm-hmm. So, those are mostly associated with IAQ, the indoor air quality pieces of the home itself, or the mobile home. So that would be kind of the third one that I can think of, and that that Harris has worked in, right? Then there's also the full-on WAP programs, and then you even have the LCCC is the only one I can think of.
LCCC
DIs essentially.
Yeah, energy resource centers do similar things like that, and a lot of the times that WAP agency work is also funded, so the participant doesn't have to pay out of pocket for that.
Yep.
So that's really nice too. It can provide a low cost, really quick turnaround project time, and provide a decent impact if it's done correctly.
Yeah, and those are the little ones, the smaller items, right? So light bulbs, faucet aerators, weather stripping, things of that nature. There was even one around here that did toilets. So they installed low flow toilets, because those can be a really, really big water user, right?
Yeah.
And there's actually really good savings with replacing toilets, is what it seems. So
And a lot of them already have plumbing issues, so
Yep.
be
Yeah,
sweet to get a
all
new
in
toilet.
all, the majority of that housing stock, that population, statistically, they're on the lower income side. So that translates to the majority of the work that we do with that housing stock is funneled through some sort of low income / income qualified program.
Yeah, man, that was awesome. That's a good overview of like 4 different kinds of programs there. It's almost like you've talked about those before. So yeah, that's awesome. So what about for companies trying to get into those programs? What would you recommend, in terms of, like, obviously you've mentioned some of where they come from, so like state governments, local governments, utilities, and that kind of stuff. But what about for companies trying to get into those programs? What might you need to show, or what are some good first steps to getting into those?
What do you mean when you say that? To like run a program or to be a contractor within the program?
Yeah, either or. So either to start running with a program as maybe either a primary assessment company or as a contractor doing work or a subcontractor doing work in those programs. What might you need to show, or how might you even just find and sign up for those programs and increase your chances of actually working for those programs?
Yeah, the sign up piece I think might be the interesting one.
Yeah, it's going to be completely different for the program implementer and then for a contractor who's looking to participate within that program. The program implementer process is a lot harder and a lot more in depth. Essentially, if you're someone like Eris who's looking to become a program implementer and manage one of these programs and be the assessment subcontractor, if you will, it requires a lot of relationship building with whatever agency is funding and managing that program. And then, slowly through that relationship building, finding out what the funders' needs are in terms of capacity. Do they need additional help with energy assessors? Are they looking for a new subcontractor to run the program? And obviously, with large state government, federally government funded programs like this, a lot of the times those contracts will be put out for an RFP just because that's legally required. So essentially, they'll put out a proposal to the public, and any company like Eris that wants to take a crack at running one of these programs will submit a proposal for that RFP. And then, they go through a rigorous vetting process, and eventually the funder of that program picks a grantee to manage that program. So that's the exact process Eris went through to manage a lot of these programs that we work with. So it takes, the staff to not only run the program, but staff to craft a really high quality proposal that will get the funders' attention. And then everything that goes into that as well, formulating a team around that. Do we want to bring in additional organizations to fill certain gaps that maybe we don't at Eris feel like we have the capacity for? So it's a pretty long, rigorous process to build a relationship and then have a team in place to generate a really high quality proposal to get accepted into that program. So that's usually how you get started in the world of the program implementation piece and the energy assessment piece of that. And then, to become a contractor in these programs, to be someone that is implementing that retrofit work, man, it's pretty simple, honestly. And I wish more contractors would reach out to us saying they have interest in these programs. Essentially, all the contractor has to do is figure out whatever organization is implementing that program, reach out to them, say, hey, I'm X contractor. I provide X trade for residential homes, manufactured homes, multifamily, whatever it may be. I'm interested in providing this service and this program. Do you have needs there? Can we talk about what that would look like? And to be honest with you, when it comes to the manufactured housing stock, we're in desperate need of contractors that are interested and willing and capable of working on that housing stock. So to become a participating retrofit contractor, it's a lot easier than these contractors might think. It's as simple as reaching out to the implementer and gauging their needs in terms of what services and trades they need help with. And once the contractor gets vetted, that they have their license, they have their insurance, all of that good stuff, it's as simple as, giving them one test job and then, doing a really in-depth quality control inspection on that job to make sure the work meets that really high program standard that's set. And If the contractor shows that they're capable of meeting those standards and abiding by program rules, then they can kind of hit the ground running.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think something to touch on, and I don't know if we wanted to do this, Cam, but I'm just going to go for it anyway, is to stay in the programs, right? To keep the programs. So Eris Consulting, for instance, has worked really, really hard having all of their people trained, right, through Blue Sky and actually trained as well as possible. And then Eris also continually goes out and does, site visits, MIBs, PIBs, and stuff on the assessments, as well as on the contractors, right? And that's something that we're implementing at Blue Sky as well, right? Is this kind of on-site training so that you can continually get better. Your team, your crew, whatever it happens to be, can get better and better. And I think that's a big piece of why Eris has kept contracts for a long time, right? It's because they care. And that's a big piece, right? So for the implementers or the contractors, right, you need to care.
Right.
And if you care, you're going to do better work. And we have plenty of contractors who've made, small errors, things like that because we know that they care, it's like, okay, cool. Well, don't do this again, right? This is how we fix it this time. And then you move forward. But if you know a contractor just doesn't care, then why would you work with them? And they're going to give these homeowners a bad product, right? And so the implementers and the contractors both need to care and want to do good work. Otherwise, the program can just implode.
Yeah.
Or you're spending a bunch of funding to do very little good. And these homes need the most good, right? The lower income side of all of this, like extra cash because they're not paying huge utility bills, means a lot. And so I think that's really important, to be able to be really well trained, care, and then do really good work.
Yeah, for sure. Well, yeah. So there was a lot to unpack there, and that's awesome. I like that term, project implementer and project contractor. That's a really good, helpful terminology to distinguish, and then also to work together in that sense. I don't know if I'd ever heard the term project implementer. So yeah, that's good. So yeah, for project implementers, it involves building that relationship, RFPs, a lot of that kind of heavier document paperwork, relational building side. And then for the contractors, a lot of that is just finding that implementer and being in connection with them and then working with them. And so a little bit easier on that side, which is good. And then going out and then doing quality work. And then the quality control inspection piece of that for the program implementer. So yeah, that's good. That's good unpacking and finding contractors. That's good. That's perfect, Parker, going in the direction of contractors, because that is the direction they will move a little bit from programs to contractors. And we've talked a little bit about some common issues with contractors, but what are some common problems we've had finding contractors or continuing with contractors? What are just some issues we run into?
Yeah, I mean, one of the big barriers we've run into with getting more participation with the contractor base is obviously there's a whole different set of code, standards, and practices for the manufactured housing stock than there is for the site-built housing stock. And a lot of the times the contractors just aren't familiar with that set of code and standards. So it's very possible that they could go in and actually do a lot more harm than good if they're not fully aware and capable of adjusting to the different codes and standards that go into the manufactured housing retrofit work. That's one piece, is the contractor has to either have that prior knowledge or show willingness to be trained by someone like Blue Sky on how to get up to speed on the different ways we work on that housing stock. The HVAC replacements look a lot different. Insulation and air sealing techniques look a lot different. So the contractor needs to be aware of those differences and show willingness to get trained on how to tackle that certain housing type. That's the one big barrier that comes up to me. And then another one that I can think of is, as we touched on the communication episode, these manufactured housing communities are very tightly knit. They all talk to each other. They're all friends with each other. So, if one homeowner has a bad experience, maybe with that contractor, it's probably going to spread like wildfire to the rest of the community. So that's very off-putting to the contractor. We understand that sometimes, we run into tough, unique jobs and mistakes can be made potentially. And we'll always do our best to rectify those issues. But sometimes, you've already planted that bad seed with the homeowner, and regardless of what you do, they're still going to have that bad taste in their mouth. And trust me, they'll let the neighborhood know that that's the case. And obviously that's very off-putting to the contractor. They don't want to tarnish their reputation or anything like that. So having that's where having good procedures programmatically comes into place, with communication with the community and communication with the contractor to try and avoid having any of those mistakes, having a really solid set of standards around installation created so that the contractor is very aware of the best way to do these projects so that we don't run into complaint homeowners.
Yeah.
And then we get working systems, and the installation projects actually do what they're supposed to, all the stuff as well.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's really good practical advice. Having good procedures in place aligned with, like you referenced the the code, the Urban Housing and Development Code. The HUD codes are like the crux of manufactured home work, and they kind of cover a lot of that already. And then for the project implementers to be very clear about the procedures. And we talk a little bit about the project implementer side a lot, because we have a lot more hand in that side, although we have some hand in the contracting side. But contractors, make sure you know the procedures. If the program implementers don't have clear procedures, make sure you ask them and have them create clear procedures so that you know what you're doing and you're not like left in the blue when you do something wrong, but you didn't know it was wrong, and that kind of thing. So project implementers, make sure you have clear procedures, and some of that will have to be developed over time. That's just what we've found, is like a new problem will arise at some point, but being quick and clear and communicating well with the contractor, the homeowner, and the program itself of that issue, why it occurred and how it's going to be remedied, and then how to move forward with that, creating a new procedure for that is a good thing to do.
And on that, Cam, on that same vein, right? Something that Eris did was create standards, right? And yes, it was all based off of HUD and the current codes within the communities, things like that. Along that, and the standards that Eris created were simple talk, right? I think this is really important, because a lot of times programs create these standards that no one can understand. Right. So you need to break it down to what a contractor knows and can understand. Otherwise, you can't expect them to follow it. Right. If they don't know what you're talking about, you really can't expect them to follow it. And another piece of that is the photo documentation, the photo QC, all those kind of pieces that Eris created as well for these different programs. And they're, every program's different. So they're specific ones for each program. But what we had the contractors do is actually print the picture photo documentation guide, laminate it, keep it in each truck, right? After that point, we saw this massive increase in the quality of work, as well as like there weren't as many missed photos for the photo QC. There weren't as many missed items, because all of a sudden now everybody has the process in their vehicle. So like, oh crap, I forget what I'm supposed to do here. Oh yeah, I'm supposed to take a picture of this thing. Okay, cool. Take a picture, right? So those kind of things I think were really helpful as we've learned throughout that program evolution.
Yeah, that's really good. Yeah, so that's, again, just really good practical. I hope people hear that, because that's just super helpful. And it's good for, again, implementers, programs, and contractors all alike, because then the expectations are clear, and then we can defend each other and stand up for each other, because again, problems are going to arise. And if it's a problem that wasn't actually spawned by someone in the program, or, someone trying to improve the home performance, and it's just like a rowdy homeowner, or, manufactured homeowner, you can defend each other and say, no, we have clear photo documentation and the procedures were very clear. We know what was going on. So that's just good advice to protect everyone involved with the program. So that's awesome. Now, as we move on from that, let's bring the contractor pool and the project implementer and then the programs themselves a little bit together with budgets, because money tends to be, we follow the money when we're trying to look at where the importance is and then how we can connect these worlds. So what are areas that are typically budget items first? So what are typical budget items in these programs? 2, are they usually good and like the budget items actually helpful for the manufactured homes? And then 3, what areas of those budgets have we needed to expand? So again, what are the budget areas? Are they good? And then what areas need to be expanded? And where have we found that with the programs or the contractors or implementers?
So I think that's a massive question, right? And I think a short kind of piece to that question, or at least to start it, is, the WAP is different than the healthy homes, which is different than those kind of like mid-grade income qualified programs, all of that kind of stuff, right? There's different things that happen in different ones. Almost all of them, though, have the weatherization pieces, right?
Okay,
That's caulking, weather stripping, filling holes, doing the DI pieces, the direct install pieces with the light bulbs and the faucet aerators, shower heads, things like that. And we did something that was very interesting at Eris, I think. And I will preface it with, we don't have a big enough data set, I don't think, to give this like actuals, right? But what we have seen in a trend is doing just the weatherization pieces, right? So you're filling all the holes that you can find, you're making sure, and this is air sealing specific. You're doing weather stripping, you're doing caulking around the windows, all of that kind of stuff. I think we found an average of somewhere around like 3 to 5% air leakage reduction, right? Which isn't nothing, and it's a low cost item to do. So I think there is value there, but the value in my mind is to the comfort, not the savings.
Right. Yeah.
Right.
And
So
anyone
you're
can do
stopping
that.
drafts and stuff and doing that. So the people are more comfortable, but we probably don't see a lot of savings there.
Right. Yeah. But that mental piece is good. And again, implementers can do that. Assessors, HVAC guy, any contractor, anyone going into the home can do that. Heck, the homeowner themselves can do that if they're, they know what to look for and that kind of stuff. But so that's good. That's a base level, easy way, and a budget that's pretty much always there, as we've seen. So.
Yeah, and I think an area that could be expanded upon or should be expanded upon within the budgets all across every different type of program we work with this housing stock is health and safety. So with a lower income population, a lot of times, there'll be a health and safety issue that arises or something that needs to be repaired, fixed, a leak, whatever it may be. They don't have the initial dollars to fix that problem. So it tends to fester for a long period of time. So then by the time someone like Eris actually gets into the home, there's been an active health and safety issue for potentially years already that actually might prohibit us from doing a deep energy retrofit in the first place. So if we can get these program funders to expand opportunities, scope of work, and dollar amounts around health and safety projects, I think it can be really impactful for the homeowners. One, because we're going to create a better living environment for the homeowner. And two, it will open the doors for us to do more retrofit work because we don't have that health and safety barrier preventing us from doing it in the first place. And honestly, this is something that even stretches to site-built homes. Just when people don't have the money set aside week to week, month to month, year to year to tackle plumbing leaks, a mold spot, anything like that, it's going to sit there because they don't have the money to fix it. So it's going to get worse. It's going to get worse. It's going to get worse. So we need to have more of a focus and more dollars pushed towards those type of items. So then it can open the door to all the other opportunities and all the other impactful work that'll translate to utility savings, to better comfort, that type of thing.
Yeah, the indoor air quality piece, I think you're right, is a really good one to do. And I am going to do a small shout out to Fort Collins Utilities because a program that they have created, their Healthy Homes program, does just that.
Exactly.
Right. So there is actual funding for what we find most is, or the most common one, I think, is plumbing leaks. Right.
Yep.
And so those can be huge health and safety issues. And it has been so refreshing to have the ability to just fix it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Obviously, the budget has to be approved and all that kind of stuff, but to be able to say, yes, we can fix this as long as it's within budget. And that then allows the bigger retrofits, which allow for the savings and the comfort increases and all of those pieces. So I think that kind of a budget is something that is talked about a lot, but doesn't always get put as a line item because maybe there's no quote unquote savings.
Yeah.
Right. And I understand that, but if that also allows us to get to something that has savings, or it allows that person to, maybe they don't have headaches every day now,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because there isn't those toxic fumes from mold or whatever, then all of a sudden now they can be happier in their life, right? They can be more productive, all those good things. So
Yeah, another big one
Yeah.
we see health and safety wise is just venting of combustion appliances
yeah.
and how poorly
yeah.
that's done.
Right.
A lot of the times we've gone into manufactured homes, we have a disconnected flue on a natural draft water heater, or we have the flue installed in such a way to where we're getting leaves and debris and everything clogged within the flue. That's obviously a fire hazard, safety hazard. And then, it
And
can
moisture
translate.
too.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It can translate to a whole host of other issues too. So smaller things like the typical person wouldn't think about, like venting, like small plumbing leaks, like they can start small, but they can actually create a really large, dangerous problem. And if
Yeah.
we have the funding and a line item allocated in the budget to fix these things, if we hit it early, it's actually pretty cost effective to fix these items. And it has a big impact, not on utilities savings, but on the overall livelihood of the homeowner. They're now in a position where they feel better when they're sitting in their living room. Like Parker said, they don't have a headache. There's a lot of impact there that's not necessarily translated in the form of utility savings.
Right. Yeah. I'm still here though. I am not in camera there. So it died or something. But that's good actually. That's telling because that's we're nearing the end. But yeah, those are awesome. Yeah, we need to fix those plumbing leaks and a lot of those issues before we can start to see those savings. So it really is a gateway budget item that should probably just be standard in these programs as we work to build programs. And it is possible for utilities and governments to get funding for health and safety because it's such a vital issue and you can see savings from that. All right, let's just end on one, maybe if you can think of one other like real quick practical thing, like you mentioned, Parker, the printout guides in the trucks. What's one good practical things that has helped build a good program on anyone's end that either implementers, contractors, or programs can do right now to start improving these?
I mean, I would say the pre-work to these programs is the most important thing, right? Make sure that you are talking to someone like Aris Consulting, right? That implementer as you're creating the program, and make sure that you're talking to the as we said in the communication episode, right? The park liaison, and you're picking out who that's going to be, and you're making sure that they're educated correctly, and you're going through and you're creating your contractor pool. So all of this pre-work, your rules, your regulations, all of the photo documentation, all of that stuff, if you create it all and do it really well at the beginning, you see much fewer negatives throughout the life of that program.
Yeah, and then when it comes to practicality for contractors, I think it's as simple as get training. There are so many resources out there through organizations like Blue Sky that can provide these contractors with niche, customized training that can help them feel comfortable with this housing stock. And a lot of the times, the programs will have funding even to give to contractors to subsidize training costs. Yep. So, if you're a contractor that sees the finances as a barrier to that training, reach out to the program implementers and see if there's opportunities there to get training costs subsidized through the program. And just to the contractor, see the value in the training too. We've heard it firsthand from all the contractors that do training with us. It's helped them substantially. It not only helps them provide better work, but now they can take that skill set and train their new onboarded employees too. So it's not just whoever got trained at that time is now much better equipped. It translates to all the new employees that come for months and years in the future.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
A lot of gains from that. That's good. I mean, just like if there was a new, virus or whatever, you'd want doctors to be trained on it right away. Yeah. So it's the same thing. We want to be able to diagnose issues. So we need the training to do so. We need to know why that fluid being removed is going to cause fire problems, moisture problems, all of the above. So, and efficiency problems. So, those are excellent, really good practical things. As always, thanks for joining me, Parker and Chance. Again, if you want to be updated on when we have new videos and episodes coming out, either part of this manufactured home series or other series we might do and things we might look at, go ahead and follow us, either that on Spotify or YouTube, so that you can just know when new things are coming out. And as we talk about getting into more of that physical pieces for the manufactured homes themselves. Thank you for joining us, and we'll get you next time.
Thanks, Cam.